Hey gardeners, welcome to the channel. My name's Jen. I'm here in Melbourne, Florida, and today we're going to be setting up my brand new garden tower 2. I've got this spot selected for it in my backyard. We're going to be filling it with rich organic soil, slow release organic fertilizer, red wiggler worms in the vermicompost tube, and we're even going to add some drip irrigation throughout the tower as we're setting it up. I'll walk you through all the supplies you need, I'll walk you through step by step how to do it, and we're even going to transplant some starts in it today. Let's get into it. If you've never used a garden tower, it's a vertical growing system designed for small spaces. It's perfect for herbs, greens, strawberries, and a lot more. This tower can spin a full 360 degrees. It has over 40 pockets for plants, and it has a built-in compost tube that turns food scraps into fertilizer with the help of red wiggler composting worms. And the food scraps and browns are added to the compost tube at the top and harvested from the bottom drawer. Here are the supplies you're going to need to set up your garden tower. The first one is pretty obvious, it's a garden tower. The next thing you'll need is about 6 cubic feet of potting soil. I highly recommend Fox Farm Happy Frog potting soil. It's amended with soil microbes to encourage nutrient uptake. I also recommend adding in a balanced organic fertilizer. I recommend Dr. Earth 444 fertilizer, and I'll add a link to all of these products in the description box below. Next, you'll want some plants. You can either buy starts, use starts that you grew yourself, or direct sow some seeds. If you choose to direct sow, make sure you don't let that top inch of soil in each pocket dry out, or you'll have trouble with germination. The garden tower must be placed on a sturdy, preferably level surface, and so I have put this 24-inch concrete paver right here on top of some leveling sand as a nice location for my garden tower. These are the supplies you're going to need to set up the drip irrigation system into the garden tower. I'm going to briefly talk you through how I'm going to do that, and then we'll get into filling up the garden tower. The first step was routing the water all the way over here. My water supply is going to be my reclaimed water. I'm here in Melbourne, Florida. It's very common for reclaimed water to be routed to houses. So that's my supply line. It's purple PVC, and I've routed it over here and pulled it up with a shutoff valve. The shutoff valve is there so that I can shut off this garden tower independently because it is wired to run at the same time as my raised bed, and sometimes I may need to turn one of them off. You can see here installed I have the 3/4 inch PVC, 3/4 inch slip ball valve, and then I have an adapter that goes from PVC slip to male hose thread. So right here at the male hose thread, we will install a 25 PSI pressure regulator as part of our head assembly. This is a female hose thread to 1/2 inch poly tubing adapter, which will go on directly after my 25 PSI pressure regulator. Now, in most systems, you're going to want a backflow preventer as well, but this is reclaimed water, so I'm not going to worry about it. Then I'm going to take the 1/2 inch poly tubing line and connect it into the head assembly, and then I will cut this and cap it off with a 1/2 inch end cap. Then I'll tee off a line of 1/4 inch distribution tubing. Distribution tubing does not have any emitters in it. So what I'm going to do is route this distribution tubing all the way up this shepherd's hook. And at the very top of the shepherd's hook, that's when I'm going to transition to 1/4 inch emitter line. The emitter line is what's going to spiral through the soil and give me drip irrigation throughout the soil. And this stuff is capable of being buried, so it's going to provide a nice even watering throughout that garden tower. As far as starting to use the compost tube with red wiggler worms and food scraps and browns on the inside, that is best done after your garden tower is completely set up. So I'm going to hold off on doing that until the end of the video, which in real time for me is going to be a couple days. Before you add any soil to the tower, you're going to want to make sure that that drawer on the bottom is facing the way that you want. It's going to be very difficult to turn it once it's full of soil, so choose wisely. I think I'm going to choose to orient it this way. I have plenty of access in that direction. Let's get into the installation. I'll start with the first piece of the center vermicompost column, and then I'll add the first ring piece. Now this part's a little tricky. I'll do my best to explain it. This is the 1/4 inch emitter line that we're going to route through the tower. These are the emitters. This is what allows the water to come out at a slow flow rate, like 0.5 gallons per hour. So I'm going to start by putting a goof plug on the end. The goof plug is just going to stop the flow. Now I'm going to use a zip tie to sort of anchor that end to the vermicompost tower in the center. This is just going to help me prevent myself from pulling out the drip line as we move up the tower and up in the installation. I'll take my zip tie. I don't need it to be like really tight, just enough to stop it from movement. I'll trim this off. Moving on to the second piece of the vermicompost column. Oh, it snaps. Now I'm going to add soil and fertilizer to the first layer. This process of adding a vermicompost column piece, then a ring, and then adding soil and fertilizer is going to repeat all the way up the tower. While we're at it, if you're enjoying this video, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button for more garden tower content. As we move on up, I'll continue to spread out the drip emitter line. So I'm just putting these zip ties here to kind of suspend it in that vertical location that I want. I'm using the shepherd's hook to hold the whole roll as I go. I don't necessarily want the emitter lines to be like right next to the vermicompost tube. I'm trying to get them a little bit further out. So you can see what I'm doing. It's a little bit of a challenge to do this. I'm not going to lie to you and tell you it's easy. Now when you're adding this much soil, it's a good idea to water as you go to make sure the water reaches all the soil properly. Then we'll add the last piece of the vermicompost column, which does not have holes in it like the rest of the pieces. After the last ring, the last bit of soil, and the last fertilizer application, it's time to finish up the drip layout. I'll leave a little slack at the top to allow the tower to spin, and then I'll cut the emitter line and add a 1/4 inch barbed connector. Then I'll connect that 1/4 inch distribution line. I'll zip tie the distribution line to the shepherd's hook and route it all the way down to our head assembly. This is where I installed the pressure regulator, the hose thread to polytubing adapter, the 1/2 inch main line, and the 1/2 inch end cap. I punched a hole in the 1/2 inch main line to tee off the 1/4 inch distribution line using a 1/4 inch barbed connector. Then I transplanted all of my starts. The final step of setting up your ultimate garden tower is to add the composting worms. First, remove the cover from the vermicompost tower. Then add food scraps and browns, layering them in a pattern of 1 handful food scraps to 3 handfuls browns. The browns I'm using here are from a paper egg carton. Then you can drop in 250 to 500 red wiggler composting worms. I bought mine from Amazon and I'll put a link to them below. Then you simply put the lid on and you are done. Wait, before I forget, let me show you how to harvest your vermicompost. First, remove the gate that separates the compost from the drawer. Then you'll need to use the compost crank, which is sold separately, to push the compost down and into the drawer. Then you'll pull the drawer out and separate out any unfinished compost if needed, and then spread your vermicompost back through the tower to feed your plants. Talk about the ultimate garden setup. This thing is my favorite. If you enjoyed the video, hit that like and subscribe button, and I'll see you guys next time.